Hello guys, welcome with a new video. And today we're going to be talking about why not bulking is actually a big ass scope. So if you want to bulk, bulking is when you eat pretty much above your maintenance or you have a surplus of energy, which the unit for is kilocalories. You have also kilojoules, but we're not going to use that. And you bulk pretty much for two main reasons, which is you will use the extra consumed energy or calories to build extra muscle, and you're going to be using that extra energy for higher performance. This is why when you bulk, you add more poundages on, for an example, your bench press, because you have more energy to build muscle, the pushing muscles, and you have just more energy to use and to perform better. That's pretty much the main two reasons why we bulk and why we take this calorie surplus. But this also means that you will gain a little bit of body fat. And this is why people always try to come up with new, somewhat bullshitty new solutions. And I want you to be very careful of these groups, because it's never well meant. It is very flawed, their way of thinking. And the first is the old school main-gainers. And these are the guys who pretty much will gaslight you into saying, oh, if you don't have abs, you're fat. And because when you're bulking, you gain fat, and you lose your abs, you're going to get fat as hell. And they pretty much give you a, fantasy land solution, which is gaining muscle without too much fat. And they will, for an example, brand this as, a very, very small surplus, often 50 or 100 kilocalories above your maintenance, to maintain this body fat. The reasoning behind this is that all the excess energy goes to your muscles. And I'm going to be honest, this never works in real life, because first of all, it is impossible to be that accurate with your calories. We use bulking as pretty much a, zone where you're sure that you are in a calorie surplus. If you're going to be, eating in a 50 calorie surplus, like these guys want you to, it is pretty much impossible because of the food industry rules regarding calories. Also the fact that you could just be moving slightly bit more, so it's all off, and you're in, at your maintenance point, or even in a calorie deficit. But these guys, they don't have well intent, because they, for an example, use this as an aggressive marketing strategy, and they will pretty much promise you the results that you can't get, at least as a natural. Luckily, this group is pretty much dead right now, but they have reincarnated themselves like the phoenix into two new groups, which is, first of all, the science-based lifters. They use flawed research to push a anti-bulking propaganda. So, for an example, they will pretty much quote that bulking results in fat gain only, or mainly fat gain. So, for an example, there was that research a few years ago in 23, where they compared a, do not be surprised, 1,000 kilocalorie surplus compared to a more moderate one. And so all the science-based lifters were, of course, ready to dismiss bulking and say, oh, bulking is faulted, bulking this, bulking that. No, bulking is still viable. Just because you're not smart enough, just because you don't have the discipline to not eat like a fucking pig, that doesn't mean that bulking is wrong. For an example, you had that lady, science-based snitch, pretty much pushing, being against bulking. But when she was really, interviewed about it aggressively, she was, she pretty much had no other choice than to answer the questions. She was pretty much like, yeah, a 100 to 200 kilocalorie surplus is still viable. So these guys, they first gonna tell you that bulking is vaulted and bad, and then when they're really pressed about it, they say, "Oh, bro, it is actually not that bad, and maybe you can eat in a very small surplus." Of course, the people, they always switch opinions. Fucking problem that they have. Um, they don't have a spine, and now so this is more of a thing where, for example, science-based lifters, they will tell you to maintain or very lean bulk, and this is still, using flawed research to put out propaganda that is very ineffective, because these guys, for example, they will tell you, oh, if you only eat all your calories that you consume, the extra calories you consume go to muscle, so it is not a calorie surplus. Some of these guys actually make this logic. It's fucking retarded, to be honest. And this is going to keep lifters stuck for years and years. And then we have the looks maxers. Sometimes they use science to justify their, I guess, flawed points. But this actually has a goal, which is, to protect the facial features. They are too afraid to bulk because some of the facial features will just get lost. And so, for an example, I saw a guy making the assumption that, okay, bulking is bad, and they will, for an example, spin the definition of, bulking. I saw this guy say that, all the extra calories that are going to muscle is not counted as a calorie surplus. That's just plain wrong. That's pretty much getting the physics wrong, because the definition of a calorie surplus is you are eating above your maintenance to pretty much maintain the same amount of weight. And these guys are spinning that in that way to, first of all, use as a very aggressive marketing strategy. So you will not gym max optimally, you will not get anywhere. Then these guys will give you a solution, either a supplement, their coaching, or something like that. And then magically you make the muscle you want. And so I think this group is going to be a problem the next few years, especially when it comes to, your results in the gym. And my advice is, first of all, take bodybuilding advice from, the lifters, the bodybuilders, even some power lifters, and take the looks advice, at least naturally, from the natural looks maxers. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace.